جزاك
الله. محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today's program will be a combination of the input of many youths and elders that we have, and they will consist of the following. We'll start off with Tilawa by Imam Hussain. We will have Hadith Kitha by Ali Naqi. We will have an objective or an outline of the focus of this program by Fadl Radwi, and we will have an introduction and lecture by Brother Zain Mohsin. And finally, we will wrap it off with a ziyarah by Shaykh Abbas. So to begin the session, I would like to invite Ibrahim Hassan to do his tilawah.
اللهم صل على محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والليل إذا يغشى والنهار إذا تجلى وما خلق الذكر والأنثى إن سعيكم لشتى فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى وأما من بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى وسنيسره للعسرى ولا يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى إن علينا للهدى وإن لنا للآخرة والأولى فأنذرتكم نارا تلظى لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى الذي كذب وتولى وسيجنبها الأتقى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى ولسوف يرضى صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد.
I now invite Ali Naqi to do his hadith.
اللهم صل على اللهم صل على محمد. This one, would it be able to catch those? Yes.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت أسماء صلى الله عليه وسلم قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي في بعض الأيام وقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت وعليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي حسني عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت البستان؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك. فدخلا معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدة. السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله. أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك. فدخلا معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا أخي وصيي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه. يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنكم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد.
وقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت السماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبريل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبريل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط فهبط الأمين جبريل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت السماء دنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله: وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد.
فقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني برسالته نبيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتقربوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل النار، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مأمون إلا فرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وصعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وصعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
اللهم صل على محمد.
I would like now to invite Brother Fadl Radwi to outline the focus and objective of the program.
اللهم صل على
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you all for coming. The objective of this sequence of sessions is to understand Karbala and the sequence of events which happened. We don't know much about Karbala, its background and its impact on subsequent centuries. We usually take it as a 10-day tragedy for the Ahlulbait. We are primarily unaware of what caused Karbala, what are actual happenings in chronological order, and the reason behind these happenings. What happened right after Karbala. We also need to know what happened in order to understand what Imam Hussain wanted to achieve and how he achieved his goals. who will conduct this session. Native speakers such as Brother Zain Mohsin and Brother Muhammad Abbas Virji, with the help of modern audio-visual aid and question and answer format, will deliver the following workshop series of 6 sessions to improve our youth's understanding about Imam Hussain and Karbala. There are 5 other monthly sessions such as this. Session 2 will be about Karbala from 28th Rajab to 8th Dhul Hijjah, 60th Hijri. The third session is going to be from 9th Dhul Hijjah to Muharram 2nd, 61th Hijrah. Session 4 is going to be from Muharram 3rd to Muharram 9th, 61th Hijrah. Session 5 is going to be 10th Muharram. Session 6 is going to be 11th Muharram to
It was very precise and very exact.
Please recite my salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
I would like now to introduce our main speaker for tonight. He will be giving us and the youth a lecture. Just some introduction about Brother Zain himself. He's a highly influential speaker. He's a Romanian community worker for Al Sirat and for various foundations. He's based in Canberra and he's an educator. And he's also established an academy there, which caters for the spiritual, religious, and social needs of over 150 youth. So, without salawat, please invite him to give the lecture.
Allahumma salli ala
Muhammad ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Allahumma
salli ala
Then before you start, I just would like to introduce Zain. Zain is bred and educated in Canberra, and he's a high school teacher as well. And the way he has addressed or imbibed the needs of religion into him is a marvel. So he has been living in all his life. He started the school from preschool and finished the university in Canberra. And the impact of religion on him is to be able to use his religion to improve himself, to keep away from the glittering of this Western world. Though we have heard it now, but it goes to him that he has got the gist of religion into him. And it's very important. Sorry, I just thought that.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum, respected brothers and sisters, and everybody who's online as well. Welcome to the first session of Understanding Karbala, the series that will be running through Al Sirat Youth. Now, my father gave me too much credit. Remember, kids, and this is for everybody online as well, that whatever we are and whatever we become, it is all because of our father. Remember, whenever you achieve something, if it's good, it's all because of your father. Remember that. And I am here today because of what my father has done for me, and I'm a reflection of him. So this is going to be not like your usual majalis, okay? It's not where the lecturer stands on the minbar and he recites a lecture to you, okay? This is going to be a little bit more interactive. It's about engaging you in the best possible way. So if you've got a question, please raise your hand, okay? Don't worry that your parents are at the back, okay? I thought that the parents won't be sitting here, but I said it's okay, because whatever question you have, I guarantee you that your parents have either had that question in the past or they still have that question to ask. Okay? So don't hesitate. All right? Whatever you ask, inshallah, we'll try to answer for you, or we'll answer it together. Okay? That's the point of this.
There are 5 prizes for the 5 best questions. So Brother Zain will be the decision maker about the top 5 questions, and there will be cash prize for 5 top questions. So everyone is encouraged to ask questions.
So another benefit, you get money for asking questions. Wow, right? So before I start, I want to just set the scene, okay, or set the tone. We live in a society that is moving so fast, okay? Everything is moving fast. You've got traffic, people running left, right, and center. When you go to the city, when you're going to school, everything is moving so fast, okay? Technology is moving at such a fast rate that it's sometimes very difficult to keep up, okay? The Western world, okay, is doing this on purpose, right? They're trying to get your eyes off the ball, okay? This is my main points, guys. Like this works, inshallah. Our society is stuck in this world. Sorry. So our society is stuck in this world where that does not allow us to just stop and reflect. Even though the most influential people out there will always say to you, the key to success is stop and reflect on your day, on a 6-month period of the year. So all the great CEOs out there of Google, Microsoft, all the successful people out there that you know in Western society, the one thing they're saying is the key to success is stop and reflect. Yet society doesn't listen to them. People literally pay these CEOs thousands and thousands of dollars, okay, to come and give a presentation about the importance of stopping and reflecting on your day, on your year, where you've been, where you want to go, how you want to get there, right? It's funny though, as we are stuck in this, right, and the Western globalized world is setting up or has set up an economic and social system that wants us to indulge in worldly affairs. It constantly tells us to strive to make what? Make money, okay? Because they think that equals happiness. The irony, though, is that this has led to a mentality that is so dangerous, that Western society has forgotten what it means to think of the collective. In fact, all of these advances in technology and all of these striving to make money has caused more mental illness among young people than we've ever seen in human history, okay? Moral standards have dropped, okay? Morality doesn't exist in the Western world anymore. But the Shia school of thought has got a remedy for all of these. And what is that remedy? It is the Majlis of Abbas Virji. Okay. This is the remedy for all of these problems that we face in the Western world today. All of your challenges that you will have now, you will face in the future, can all be solved in the Majlis of Abbas Virji. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Can you move forward a bit, please? So kids can come forward. Thank you. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
These majalis or congregations have so much benefit for us on a spiritual, social, mental, and physical level. Okay? In fact, Imam Zain al-Abidin, the 4th Imam, in the courtyard of Yazid, okay, after the tragedy of Karbala illustrates the significance of these gatherings. I just want, as a, I guess, an introduction to all of this, I want you to just stay with me. Imam Zain al-Abidin sets the standard for Majlis. Now let's just give some backdrop to this great sermon. Has anybody here heard the sermon of Imam Zain al-Abidin in the courtyard of Yazid? MashaAllah, good, 3 or 4 people. Tonight, your homework in honor of Imam Sajjad is to go and read that sermon. The language that Imam uses is so powerful that that one lecture and Sayyida Zainab's lecture after that brought down, or was the start of bringing down Yazid's tyranny. Okay, that's how powerful it was. Yep.
Where do you read the sermon before Imam Zain al-Abidin?
At the end, I'm going to give you where to go, what to search, and how to get it. Okay? Great question. MashaAllah. Well done. So, this sermon, like I said, is considered to be one of the greatest sermons in Islamic history. But there's a difference about Imam Zain al-Abidin's khutbah or sermon than any other sermon that Prophet Muhammad gave. Imam Ali gave so many sermons. There in Najib al-Agha, for example. The sermon of Ghadir, right? Very significant. Okay? But none of them, none of those sermons were delivered in the conditions that Imam Zain al-Abidin delivered his great speech. Let's have a look at this. He had been prisoner for more than 20 days and had been dragged in chains through 4 modern day countries. Okay. And we're not talking about on a car or a truck. We're talking about dragged by horses and camels. Okay. In the heat. That is the backdrop of it. Okay. He's just lost his beloved father. And if some of you would know, inshallah, I hope they know, that Imam Zain al-Abidin's biography, he became an orphan when he was born because his mother died while giving birth. Okay, she died 3 days after giving birth to Imam Zain al-Abidin. He was an orphan, okay, from birth. And Imam Hussain obviously naturally became the source of all his happiness. Okay, he latched onto his father from anything. So he's just lost that source, right? Obviously, when you lose your father, you understand that. But Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Hussain was everything, not just his master. Okay, but like I said, because he was an orphan at a young age, Imam Hussain became everything to him. Okay, so and before Zain al-Abidin gives his khutbah, Yazid had actually hired speakers and poets to get up and send cursing on his great-grandfather and his grandfather. That is the backdrop, okay? And in these conditions, Imam Zain al-Abidin, cool, calm, and collected, keeps his akhlaq and his moral standard at the highest levels. He gets up, and you know what he asks? He said, if you give me ijazah, if you give me the permission, may I speak? They gave him permission. And this is what he said before his actual khutbah. These words are going to bring the pleasure of Allah. And for those who are in the congregation are going to get the rewards and are going to get the gifts because they are attending the congregation. If you have a look at this quote, just focus on that for a second. Who's in the congregation? The haters of the Ahlulbait. Yazid in the congregation. His missionaries are all there. His advisories are all there. The people who have killed his father are there. So in other words, the haters of the Ahlulbait. And yet, Imam says, if you listen to these words, right? If you listen to these words, they will bring the pleasure of Allah. These congregations on another level, right? What are we here to do? We're here to honor Abu Abdullah. If Imam Zain al-Abidin said these words to those people, Can you imagine how much sawab, how much rewards you are getting by just sitting here today? And every single time you go to a majalis, this is what the backdrop is. Imam Zain al-Abidin, all those years ago, in those conditions, he set the standard for what a majalis is. Unfortunately, in my capacity as a teacher and also as a youth leader, parents come up to me, kids come up to me, who are my friends now, and they say, why do I have to go to majalis? Even if you don't understand, right? There is blessings by sitting down and honoring Abba Abdullah. On a spiritual level, okay, because you might not be able to understand it. But like I said, intellectually and also spiritually, benefits upon benefits. This is the banquet of Allah. Literally the banquets of Allah are open for you here. Okay. All right. I've got a question for you, and I'm going to go around the room to ask. Okay, I want you to just think about it for 1 second before you just answer. We all have questions about Karbala, right? In fact, if you ask the great Ayatullahs, the great scholars in the Maraja, they even say that every year we commemorate Karbala and the tragedy of Karbala, a new reality appears in front of us. So questions are everywhere, right? Questions are good. This is the only school of thought. Your Shia school of thought is the only school of thought in the world, not just in Islam, but in any other religion and philosophy that says question. Question, question, question. So ask, okay? And the question is, what are some of the major questions you have around Karbala, the tragedy of Karbala and Imam Hussein's uprising? Think, and I'll ask. Put your hands up. I know some of you, so don't think because I don't know you, I'm not going to call you out. Yeah? Go. You had your hand up, no? Bismillah. What's your name first? Please, Bismillah. Loud. That's one of the questions you have.
Did Imam Hussain use Imam Ali's sword?
The Zulfiqar? That's a great question. Yes, so the Zulfiqar, okay, was Imam Ali's sword and it was passed down, okay? Great question. Any other questions about Karbala and the tragedy of Karbala?
How do we know that you exactly said the two companions of Imam Hussain?
Good question. How about you?
I've heard many stories of Karbala. Some say that Imam Hussain was praying, then they threw rocks at him and killed him, and then some say that Andrew Jibreel came down and told him to stop, and some others say that.
So your question is about the last moment of Imam Hussain. We'll be answering that, inshallah. Okay. Yep.
How much days, how much weeks, how much years was Imam Hussain and his family brutalized?
In how long they stayed in Karbala?
Yeah.
Yep. We were talking about that too. Well done. Great question. What else?
Got killed. When Imam Hussain went to fight, how many people got killed?
In altogether?
Yeah.
Inshallah, we'll answer that question as well.
And I also wonder how many when Imam Zain and maybe Zainab, when they both gave the khutbah, how many people started crying?
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. Fantastic question. Brilliant. Yep.
What were the events that led up to the battle of Karbala?
Brilliant. Fantastic. What else?
And some people say that Ali was married. Do you believe this?
He was married or not? Yes, we can answer that question too. Yep. Any more?
What was Muslim Bilaki said?
Great question. So the prelude of Karbala. Brilliant. Yeah. Are these 3 or 4 people the only ones awake? Maybe you're an older one. Come on. No questions about Karbala.
What was
Oh, yeah, okay. We can talk about that too. Yeah. Who have we gone to yet? Yep.
Why did Gore decide to change his side?
Oh, fantastic question. Brilliant question. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah.
So why did Gur make the decision to change sides? Yep.
So when they were going to Kufa,
Yep.
Imam Hussain and his army, why they stop him and then follow him and then make him stop?
Good. Good. Yep.
Why did they see when Imam Hussain and his army?
Good
Fantastic
question.
Great.
Fantastic question. MashaAllah. Yep.
How did Yazid turn bad?
How did he turn bad?
That's a good
Great.
question.
Fantastic question. Yep.
Well, why did Gore stop Imam Hussain from going to Kufa?
That's a fantastic question as well. One more. Yep.
How was Dr. Jin helping Imam Hussain?
Okay, this is the second time we've had that question. But yes, okay. Yep. One more.
Why did you use a three-headed arrow?
Very good. Fantastic. Fantastic. Very good questions. And inshallah, we will endeavor to answer as many of these as we can. And they will naturally be answered in these six sessions, inshallah. My next question, and I haven't written it up here because I want you to listen to the question. And you're going to, rather than just give me the answer, you're going to turn to the person next to you, and adult parents can also ask you to do this as well. Why is Imam Hussain important to you? Think about it. Why is Imam Hussain important to you? Okay? So talk to the person next to you, okay? And then we'll share some ideas, okay? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Can you keep repeating the question?
Okay, the question is, why is Imam Hussain important to you? Personal level, okay? Personally. Thirty more seconds. At least have one reason why Imam Hussain is important to you. Okay? Got it? I need one reason.
Go.
Got it? The older brothers should be ashamed right now. The younger ones, switched on. All right. Can I have everybody's attention again, please? These boys here really want to say why, and that's fantastic. Go with you first. Go. Loud.
Imam Hussain encouraged Imam Zain alayhi salam the most.
Yep. You love that, and that's why you love Imam Hussain so much.
And you were born with love of Imam Hussain.
MashaAllah. Good.
So first thing the first thing is because he's our third Imam.
Yep.
And then the second thing is because he could have never went to Kufa and he sacrificed all of his friends and family just for the sake of Allah.
MashaAllah. Very good. Yep, over there. Now.
He sacrificed himself for the sake of Islam.
MashaAllah. He sacrificed himself for the sake of Islam. Yep.
He literally gave up all of his things just for Islam, and if if he didn't do that sacrifice, right now Islam has been not spread that much, and he's like the savior of all of us.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Yep.
He encourages us to be obedient to our parents, to our prophets, to Allah, to our Imam, to our teachers as well.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Yep. Now,
Reason.
give me one reason. The main one.
So if he sacrificed himself for Karbala, and if he didn't, the religion of Islam will be existing, and then we won't follow it, so all of us will get into the hellfire. He is a representative of God.
MashaAllah. Yep.
But every aspect of Imam Hussein's life is a lesson that we can implement.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah.
Yep.
He stood up for Islam and stood at his post.
MashaAllah. Just one more. Yep.
If we didn't do that sacrifice, we would split that in years. We'll just be done.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Consider a reason we have questions.
Where? Yes. Loudly.
Exactly. How did Imam Hussain protect Islam by sacrificing his family?
That's a good answer.
That's a very nice
It's a fantastic question you've asked. Inshallah, we'll be answering that. Okay? All right. You want to? Yep. Loudly. One more. This is the last one. This is the youngest, I think. Loudly. Yep. No, to answer the question, why Imam Hussain?
The Imam of the time when he sacrificed himself for Islam.
MashaAllah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. These are some of the questions we will be focusing on, and I'm not surprised you asked those because they're some of the questions that we're going to be looking at anyway. Okay? So, for example, why did Imam Hussain rise up against Yazid? When Imam Hussain, on the other hand, signed a peace treaty? That's a question that we have. Yep. No, we're not answering these. These are just some of the major themes. Okay, questions. You get more opportunity to speak, inshallah. Okay. All right. So that's one question that we have. Why was it paramount that Imam Hussain did not pledge allegiance to Yazid? Okay. That's to answer your question, for example. Okay. Was the tragedy of Karbala an isolated event in an isolated period of Islamic history, or was it a larger event? Okay. Yep.
Did Yazid become bad because Imam Ali killed his father?
Imam Ali didn't kill Yazid's father, but Imam Ali did kill those disbelievers in Badr, and we'll be talking about Badr today. Okay. Well done. Great question. How old are you?
8.
MashaAllah. What were the main aims of Imam Hussein's uprising or revolution? Was Imam Hussain successful in achieving his goals? And what happened after Karbala? These are some of the questions or major topics or themes that we'll be discussing in these 6 sections coming forward, okay? But this is tonight's program. And the ones that are highlighted, okay, are the ones that we'll try to expand on the most. I cannot tell you, whenever a speaker or someone who's trying to serve Abbas Virji sits down to write a lecture, it takes hours and hours, not because it's hard, it's because as you read more and more, you want to add more and more to the lecture. Even 6 sessions is not enough to look at some of these questions. In fact, even if we spent years upon years discussing these, it would not be enough. Young kids, I implore you, you are the future of this religion. You are the future of this society. If you have a firm connection with Abbas Virji, you will do this thing, what I'm going to ask you now. Become so influential in society, with such a positive influence on society, with your morals and akhlaq, taking the lessons from Al-Masoom. When you go to university, you open up a department dedicated to Karbala. Okay. That is a challenge I put forward to you now. Have that in the back of your head. Okay. And if you have that niyyah, I guarantee you, no matter what you do, you'll be successful anyway. Okay. But these are the points we're going to look at today. And inshallah, you will understand what is the prelude to Karbala. Karbala was not an isolated event. Okay. It was not just something that happened in that period because Imam Hussain did not pledge allegiance to the tyrannical leader of his time. No, it goes years and years back. We're going to look at that today. Okay. So first, we're going to have a small introduction to Arab society before the Prophet. We're going to look at power dynamics. Okay. We're going to look at the Quraysh tribes. And I want you to remember the word Quraysh, okay, or the title Quraysh, because it'll be coming up a lot in our discussion tonight. We're going to look at Bani Hashim and Bani Umayyah. Okay. Yep.
I heard that Prophet was a part of the Quraysh.
So the Quraysh is the overall tribe, okay? And there are many tribes that we're going to look into that today, okay, inshallah. So you understand where the Umayyads came from and then where the Bani Hashim came from tonight, okay? Inshallah. Yeah.
You see Muawiyah's father, Abu Sufyan, was he a munafiqeen?
Was he a munafiqeen? You can ask that question. I don't have to answer that. What do you think?
No, like was he like fake Sahaba?
Yeah, we're going to look at that today. So we're going to talk about why Abu Sufyan did convert to the religion of Islam. It's a great question. Well done. MashaAllah, well done. Man, you're taking my lecture away, man. Don't do that. All right. Now, it's not highlighted, but I would have liked to, and I think parents, to make this successful, maybe do some of this at home, okay? Talk about the relationship between Abu Muttalib and the Prophet, and then Abu Talib and the Prophet, okay? Because that relationship between Abu Talib and the Prophet is absolutely crucial in understanding Karbala, okay? Please, if you could talk about this maybe at home tonight or tomorrow morning when you get up on the breakfast table, okay, at lunchtime, talk about these relationships that Prophet had in his early life, okay, because they were so influential on him, okay, and his biographies. And not enough emphasis put on the greatness of Abu Talib, okay. We are going to focus on how the Prophet starts to change society and he breaks the old traditions and challenges the very core of Arab Meccan society. And we're going to be looking at Abu Sufyan, okay, and the old power brokers who start to lose their hold on society, okay. We're going to look at the, again, unfortunately, we won't be able to talk about it, but the birth of Imam Ali, okay, and when he started his life, how that was a significant event in Islamic history, okay, and also to understand Karbala. We are going to look at a little bit about the legacy of Badr. Number 5, Ghadir sets the foundation of Karbala, okay, and unfortunately, again, we cannot talk about it today, but I want to go to keep that in your mind, how Ghadir, or the event of Ghadir, is such a monumental event, okay, which sets, again, the foundations for the tragedy of Karbala. Yes?
Is Ghadir or who or what?
Ghadir is the place, okay. Ghadir was the place where Imam Prophet Muhammad announced Imam Ali's successorship after his death, okay, in front of 100,000 people, okay, to make sure that it was no doubt who the next successor was. Okay, great question, because it leads up to the next one, Saqifa, and how the so-called Ansar and Umayyads changed the course of not just Islamic history, but human history as well. Okay. We're going to look at, quickly, we're going to look at Imam Ali's Khalifa and the rise of Muawiyah. Okay, yep.
How come Imam Ali wasn't the first Khalifa after the event of Ghadir?
You'll get that answer today. Okay, great question. We're going to look at Muawiyah and the peace treaty with Imam Hussain, focusing a little bit about Imam Hassan's biography.
Just a minute. If you can, kids can come this way, so the newcomers can.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then, because we need to honor Imam Hussain and Abu Abdullah, we are going to have a Messiah, okay? And we're going to look at Abu Fadl Abbas, who is considered to be the moon of the Hashemites, okay? Yes?
was this Ali Akbar or Imam Sajjad?
So most historians will say that Ali al-Akbar is the oldest, okay, because that's why he was Ali al-Akbar. Okay, great question. Okay. So an introduction to Arab society before Islam, okay, and we're going to focus on power dynamics, the Quraysh tribes, Bani Hashim and Bani Umayyah, okay, and we're going to look at three things: political conditions in Arab Arabia before Islam, social conditions, and economic conditions, okay? Yeah.
Was Islam just in the Iraq, or can it be in other places? So
At this time, so where was Prophet Muhammad born? He was born in? Huh? He was born in Mecca, okay, which is modern day Saudi Arabia. That's where Islam started, okay? And then it spread its wings, okay? Good question. All right, so it's interesting to note that Arab or Meccan society was void of any governance whatsoever, okay? So think about today, right? In Australia, you have the Liberal Party in power, okay? They make laws, they make regulations, then you have the police, you have different strands of government, okay? Hence why when you go outside, you feel confident, you feel safe, right? Well, before Islam, there was no governance, okay? It was based off the authority of the chiefs of the tribes, okay? So the chiefs of the tribes, the sort of masters of the tribes, the big guys, they were the ones who ran the political arena, okay? They're the ones who had the power, the political power, okay? The only law of the land was actually lawlessness. The more absence of laws and rules and regulations, the more power the chiefs got, okay? Now, in the event of a crime that was committed, the injured party took law in its own hands. And the way you did that was through violence, okay? War was a game, okay? Killing other family members was a game to them. It was a sign of honor, okay? So if somebody does wrong to you, the way you fix it is a fight, okay? That's the best way. That's what shows you're a man, okay? Yeah?
So you don't like that?
So anybody in society, we're just looking at it on a general point.
But if that person, the first person started a conflict, why would that person repent?
Why would that person repent? Because these sort of ideas of repentance and forgiveness were absent in Arab society, okay? They were absent for most of the Quraysh tribal leaders. But there was one Quraysh tribal leader that he was a moral exemplar for society around him. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? Muawiyah. Who do you think I'm talking about?
Abu Sufyan, Abu Jahl.
No, was the exemplar for morality. Okay? So Prophet Muhammad's family. Okay, this is before Prophet Muhammad. Okay. Yeah. Question? Yeah. Yazid? No, we're going to talk about Yazid later. Okay. Stay with me, people. What am I trying to say? I'm saying at the moment, generally speaking, morality and these ideas of forgiveness and high moral standards did not exist, okay? But there was one family that had this, and that was Prophet Muhammad's family, okay? They were the ones from the Quraysh who upheld this. We're talking about Abdul Muttalib, okay? Talking about Abu Talib, okay? They're the ones we're talking about. Abu Talib's family, they were the ones who showed society what morality was, okay? And they were considered by most of the Qurayshi tribal leaders to be very high, okay? Yep.
Not Christian, I said, why would that person repent? I meant retaliate.
Why would he retaliate?
No, the other guy, why would he retaliate?
The guy who...
Like the guy who started the conflict, like attacked, like some guy attacked another guy, why would that other guy retaliate?
Because if he doesn't retaliate, then he's considered to be like a coward. And for them, being a coward in Arab society was like, you're not a man, okay? You're not going to be accepted by other people, right? That's why it's important that you retaliate, and you fight back, okay? But if you are a tribal leader, right, and you hold the power, what would you start doing? You start manipulating people, right? You start being overburden the poor. The most poorest people, they suffered in the society, okay? Because they didn't have anyone to fight for their rights, right? Yep.
I've got a question. You know how like chiefs have power? What if the chiefs do the wrong thing?
No one wants to question them because they had all the power. This is why when we look, when Prophet Muhammad came and he started to break these old traditions, why the likes of Abu Sufyan, right, and Abu Jahl, and all these guys, they couldn't stand Prophet Muhammad and his social revolution, okay? All right, guys, for the next 5 minutes, we just put our hands down because we're running out of time. It's already been 40 minutes already. We haven't even got through half of our slide, okay? So just stay with me, okay? The other one was economic conditions, okay? So the most powerful people, the chiefs of the tribes, they were the ones who held the power economically, so the money, right? And then lastly, the social conditions before Prophet Muhammad. We're talking about a savage custom that we all know about, burying daughters alive, okay? This is the sort of conditions that Arab society was in, Meccan society was in, before Prophet Muhammad came and revolutionized all of this, okay? Now, this last one, I want you to just keep an eye on. Drunkenness was a common vice of the Arabs, okay? With drunkenness also came gambling. They were compulsive drinkers and they were compulsive gamblers. Just want you to keep that with you. So the likes of Abu Sufyan, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, they all loved to drink alcohol. Drunkenness was their vice. What do I mean by vice? It was their way of life, okay? I want you to keep that in your mind for a second because you start to understand when Prophet Muhammad came and he changed all of these traditions, why it led up to Karbala, okay? In other words, before Prophet Muhammad, the likes of Abu Sufyan, Abu Jahl had a lot of power in Arab society, okay? The tribal leaders had held power and were the power brokers of Arabian pagan society for generations, okay? The Prophet Muhammad comes and he breaks all of this, okay? He changes people. It was not just a spiritual revolution. It was a social, economic, and governance revolution, okay? Political revolution. He started to change the old ways, okay? Now, I just want to just focus on this for a second. Even though the likes of Abdul Muttalib and Abu Talib's family were considered to be, were Bani Hashim, they were considered to be exemplars of morality. The likes of Abu Sufyan and the Umayyads had a deep jealousy for Abu Talib's family, okay? For Abdul Muttalib, okay, the grandfather of Prophet Muhammad, a deep jealousy, okay? They hated the fact that Abdul Muttalib was the guardian of the Kaaba, for example. They hated the fact that why this man had so much sway in society. Even though they had power, they hated this fact. And when he died, when Abdul Muttalib died, and he passes Prophet Muhammad's guardianship over to Abu Talib, that jealousy increases because the only man in Arab society that could protect Prophet Muhammad from the pagans, or Abu Sufyan, the likes of Abu Sufyan, was Abu Talib himself, okay? In fact, you could argue, actually, there is no argument here, Abu Talib saved not just the Prophet, but he also saved the religion of Islam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allah! So here, I've just written here, Prophet Muhammad's great protector, Abu Talib, make sure any plot to harm the Prophet was not successful by the tribes of Quraysh. Okay? no matter how hard they tried to kill Prophet Muhammad, to stop his social revolution, they couldn't because of the protection that Abu Talib gave to the Prophet. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay. Now the strong link between Abu Sufyan and Yazid. Okay, now we're starting to understand why the prelude and the time of Prophet Muhammad set the foundations for Karbala. Okay, stick with me for just 5 minutes. Okay, hold your question. Right? I love the fact that you want to ask. Just running out of time. Yeah. So after years of trying to destroy the Prophet's social, economic, political, and religious revolution, Abu Sufyan finally has to give in. And in the 8th year after Hijrah, your question, I think it was, your question, why did Abu Sufyan accept Islam? Okay. He becomes a Muslim. Okay. We've had many battles already between the Quraysh and the Hashemites. Okay, or Prophet Muhammad, right? Abu Sufyan fails. Okay, over and over again. Now, on the peaceful conquest of Makkah, Abu Sufyan, all right, he goes outside Makkah and he comes back in and he sees just outside on the outskirts Prophet Muhammad's great army. Okay, he's shocked, right? He can't believe how Prophet Muhammad has managed so many followers and how he's got such a great army now. And while Abbas, who was the uncle of Prophet Muhammad, was going around the gates just to see if everything's okay, he spots Abu Sufyan. Now, Abu Sufyan is lucky that it was Abbas who was going around the perimeter and not anybody else, not Imam Ali, for example. Right? Abbas does allow Abu Sufyan to have a talk with Prophet Muhammad. The Ansar, or the people of Prophet Muhammad, they actually didn't want to let Abu Sufyan go. They wanted to kill him. Prophet Muhammad was above all this. He was above revenge. Okay? Even though, consider how much trials and tribulation this one man put Prophet Muhammad through. He was above all this. Okay? He forgives Abu Sufyan and he says, accept Islam and you'll be allowed to live your life peacefully. He accepts it, but he never was a true Muslim. And this quote highlights something. Highlights something. What does he say? So while Abu Sufyan is watching the large squadrons of Prophet's army, he looks at Abbas and he says the following: your nephew has truly won a great kingdom and great power. He doesn't believe it was revelation from Allah. He doesn't believe that he was a prophet. What does Abbas say? He snaps and replies back. A true Muslim would reply in this way: wow to you. This is prophethood and not a kingdom. Okay, and not a kingdom. But because Abu Sufyan was all about power, was power hungry, he thought that Prophet Muhammad came and he did all this for power. He didn't understand that this was God's message, right? Why do you think this statement is important to reflect upon? Now, let's stick with me, everybody, please. Now, consider this: Abu Sufyan was not a true believer. Okay, he only became a Muslim to save his own life. Okay. On top of this, the jealousy within raged for years after him accepting Islam. First, what did he do first? He tried to destroy Prophet Muhammad. He couldn't do it. He had to accept Islam. What does he do then? He starts setting the foundation to get the power back. Okay, and take the kingdom away from Bani Hashim. Now, I link this back to what Yazid ibn Muawiyah says. So Yazid says in the courtyard to Imam Zain al-Abidin. What does he say? This is where the link between Abu Sufyan and Yazid is. Banu Hashim. You know what they did? They played with this kingdom. They played with this kingdom. They played with the kingdom. Notice how he doesn't say Nubuwwat, okay? Just like his grandfather. He says kingdom. There was no news, he says. There was no news. There was no revelation. I wish my ancestors from Badr were here today. Abu Sufyan said the same thing who was part of Bani Umayyah, who had lost power before Prophet Muhammad comes. He starts to set the foundation to get it back. And with Yazid taking it back, Banu Hashim's in power. Okay? Yeah.
Is that Muawiyah's cousin Yazid?
So Abu Sufyan is Muawiyah's father. That's a different Yazid. That's Muawiyah's brother. Okay. So Yazid ibn Muawiyah is the one who said that. Okay. It's a little bit confusing, but yeah, all right. Okay, so keep that family tree in your mind because now we're going to move on to Muawiyah. Okay. We'll try to go as fast as we can, but this is important. Okay. Who is Muawiyah? Why is he so significant? Okay. Remember, we're trying to get to the chain of events before Karbala. All right. Don't have to read all of that. This is just for. It's getting recorded. I'll be sending it through WhatsApp as well, so you have access to it. Okay. Muawiyah, who was the son of Abu Sufyan, becomes the leader of Banu Umayyah clan, okay, which was only interested in the worldly benefit of kingdom. Okay, he was not a true Muslim either, just like his father. Okay. Now, the question is, how does Muawiyah become the Khalifa? How does he become the Khalifa of Arab society, of the Muslim Ummah? Do you know?
Because when he signed the treaty with Imam Hussain, he wrote his wife to prison and then Sudanese.
Something before that too. Well done for knowing that story, but before that too, yeah.
You know, like how Abu Sufyan accepted Islam and all of that stuff, and he maybe stole all the power and then gave it to Muawiyah.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question for you now. Umar, unfortunately, it all goes down to Umar, unfortunately. The second Khalifa appoints Muawiyah's brother Yazid, okay, as the governor of Syria when the Muslims captured the territory from the Byzantines. Okay. Within a few years, Yazid, the son of Abu Sufyan, died of a disease, and Umar appoints Muawiyah in his brother's place as the governor. This sets the foundation. Okay. Upon coming to power, Muawiyah takes advantage of the rich public treasury of Syria, using it personally and for his own personal benefit. He buys favors and influence of the Arab people. Thus, he had built a strong network, okay, a strong foundation for his power. When Imam Ali becomes the Khalifa, okay, after whose death? Anyone know? After Uthman's death. Yes, after the third Khalifa's death. Okay. Imam Ali becomes Khalifa. Obviously, knowing what sort of person Muawiyah was, Imam Ali decides to remove Muawiyah immediately. Okay. Even though Imam Ali knew that Muawiyah had a strong base of support. Okay. At that time, Muawiyah had been the governor of Syria, Palestine, and Jordan for 17 years. When Imam Ali becomes the Khalifa, Muawiyah had already been governor of these three countries, or these three areas, for 17 years. Okay? Yep.
How can Muawiyah be the governor of 3 countries?
Okay, so I've given you modern day countries today, but it was the area of Syria. Okay, so he was the governor of that area, which included these 3 countries. They were like empires. They were like areas that he was governed under. Okay, so if you look at the modern day map today, you will see how Syria, Palestine, and Jordan are very close together. Okay, those countries didn't exist back then. Okay, I've just given it to you so you know. Okay, how big his empire was. Okay.
What is the empire called?
Well, it's called the the Caliphate. Okay, of the Muslims. All right. Yep.
I thought Syria was a city.
Syria, no, Syria is a country today. Yeah. You have Damascus inside Syria. Yeah? Yeah.
How many years was this there? How many years was this before?
So this was when Imam Ali becomes Khalifa. So this was at least 20 years before Karbala. Okay, at least. All right. Muawiyah because of his power, is defiant. Okay, he doesn't accept Imam Ali as a new Khalifa. This leads to civil unrest, okay, and civil war. Yep.
So aren't they like, so is it like one Khalifa at one time?
Yeah,
So like
that's how it should have
Abu Bakr,
been.
and then he dies, and
Umar
Umar, and then he
became,
dies,
and Usman became,
then he dies,
then Imam Ali became.
and then if
Then what happened though when Imam Ali becomes the Khalifa?
war.
Civil war happens because he doesn't give allegiance and loyalty to him. Unlike Yazid, Muawiyah is a cunning snake. Okay, he is an astute politician. Guys, we're running out of time. No more questions until the end. Okay, stick with me, please. I'm sorry.
What do you mean? You keep saying running out of time.
I was
I'm
just
pretty
told,
sure we had
I
time.
was just told that we don't have time.
You can't do this to the kids. If they're asking questions, let them be, please.
Okay, good. Ask, please.
Right.
Which is
Sorry.
which is it the one son of Muawiyah or the one?
Great question. Son of Muawiyah. Okay. I'm sure the other Yazid was also a snake, but we'll talk about this one. Okay. All right. So unlike Yazid ibn Muawiyah, okay, the son of Muawiyah, Muawiyah was different. He was cunning. He was an astute politician. Okay. He was very smart and intelligent. Okay, when it came to power and worldly affairs. Publicly, Muawiyah was extremely religious. Behind closed doors, extremely unreligious. Drunkard. Okay, and other things I cannot mention on the member. Okay. But everything that you consider to be non-religious, he did behind closed doors. But publicly, he knew that if I can keep this facade up of being a religious person, I can remain in power. So he does that. Okay. This is the backdrop of when Imam Ali dies, okay, is killed, Imam Hussain becomes the next Imam, okay, and the Khalifa. Right? And just remember the backdrop. What happened? Okay. First off, Imam Hussain was 37 years old when his father was murdered. And when he became the Imam, he had to deal with many issues. Yes.
That's fine.
Think about it. I'll come back to you. Okay? Yep.
What is Khalifa?
The leader. Okay? The leader. Yep.
I thought there were normally Khalifas after Imam Ali.
Well, there were many after Imam Ali.
No, but like
But rightfully guided. You're talking about the rightfully guided?
Khalifa. I thought there was only like two.
You're talking about the four rightly guided caliphs?
Khalifa.
No, there was caliphs all the way. You had the Umayyads who took caliphate, and then the Abbasids were the Khalifa. Okay, for thousands, almost 1,000 years, right? We'll look at that, inshallah, the after Karbala. Okay. Yeah.
You know how Imam had like insight into their life. If and you know what's gonna happen. If Imam Hussain knew that his wife was gonna put it in
No, the one thing that's hidden from everyone, and even the Imams, is when they're going to die. Okay, they know how they're going to die, but when the death comes, that's hidden.
If he knew that his wife was gonna put it in, that's why he died. Why did he marry?
Great question. It's a bit more philosophical, theological question. Okay, we'll leave that to another session. Okay.
There is a Khalifa
Now, well, we're waiting for the Khalifa to come, and that is Imam Hadi. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Last session, we'll look at when the Caliphate finished. Okay, all right. We'll have a look at that. Now, I want you to just focus on something, because unfortunately, even some Shias accuse Imam Hussain of giving into Muawiyah and Muawiyah's power. Nothing like that is the truth. It is so far from the truth, I cannot tell you. Okay. In fact, many scholars and Maraja say, okay, that if Imam Hussain was in Imam Hussein's position, he would have done exactly the same thing. And Imam Hussain would have done exactly the same thing as Imam Hassan did when he was Imam. Okay? And unfortunately though, this accusation has been laid to our great second Imam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Because many people don't know about Imam Hassan's life. Okay? 3 civil wars in 4 years. And when Imam Ali dies, just picture the scene. Muawiyah continuing to do all of this, causing havoc, right, in the Muslim world. Imam Hassan wanted to finish Muawiyah off once and for all. And he asked Imam Ali's loyal soldiers, I'm ready to fight, let's go and finish Muawiyah once and for all. Let's finish this off, no more. In fact, Imam Hassan was the hero of the other 3 wars. He was the son of Imam Ali, the lion of Allah. Okay, just like Imam Hussain, he was brave. Okay, just like Imam Hussain, he was a warrior at heart. When he becomes Khalifa, he goes to Imam Ali's loyal soldiers, which were 20,000, and he asks them, "Are you ready to fight me? Fight with me? Let's go and finish Muawiyah off." Even though Imam Hassan knew he had 20,000 and Muawiyah had almost 100,000 soldiers with him. And still he said, with my soldiers, with the likes of my brothers, and the likes of their kids, and the likes of my true companions, I don't need more than 20,000 to finish this man off. But what happens? Muawiyah, like I said, is cunning. He had access to the treasury of Syria, okay? He uses it to do what? To buy off the allegiance of Imam Ali's so-called loyal soldiers. And straight away, within months, 20,000 soldiers come down to 8,000. Imam Hassan's looking around him saying, 20,000, and just with the money and the promises of riches and palaces, I've lost 12,000 soldiers. Okay?
Is this all like that?
Sorry?
They're all these powerful, like leaders of the world, and they're only like that people who like got all power.
Yeah.
Is that all they done?
That's all they do. People who are power hungry, what do they do? They take all the money and all the power and keep it to
So
themselves.
all they do with their money, like they just keep money. What are you gonna do with the money? That's the point.
Yeah, great question. Wallah, this is a fantastic question. And it goes to the very nature of power, right? And inshallah, we'll look at these inshallah coming sessions, inshallah. Yeah?
Those 12,000 loyal soldiers just went into the army just for money.
Yep, they left the army just for money and power, okay? So for 20,000, they sell their religion and they sell their akhirah just for Muawiyah's money, okay? Yes? Yes, palaces and money and riches. So how much are left? 8,000. Do you still think Imam Hussain stopped? Yeah.
You know how when we give him all the stuff, I bet he is saying like 500,000 souls.
Millions of dirhams, millions of dirhams.
Yeah, but I bet like all this he said all the soldiers, he just attacked them, and then you know the prison back, and then he keep on doing that. How many is one dirham?
Sorry, what was that?
How many?
How much is 1 dirham
One
today? Today's that's a really good question. 1 dirham of today's money of that time is literally like $1. Right? So pretty important, right? So $1 million, could you imagine?
Dirham was a silver coin at the time.
So there was silver.
Dirham was a silver coin and dinar was gold.
It's probably not even $1, like maybe $5, $10. 1 dinar was like today's $10. Right? Can you imagine? We're talking about pure gold. Yeah. This is a lesson for all of us, right? Lesson for all of us. Inshallah, we'll look at some of these. Yep.
Isn't this Dubai country?
Sorry?
Dubai country.
Today's dirham, yeah, well, there's dirhams all around the Arab world. Yeah. All right. Okay, so how much are left? 8,000. Still Imam Hassan doesn't give in. He still asked the 8,000 soldiers, if you are ready, I'm ready. Let's go and finish Muawiyah off. But even those, okay, even those did not give Imam Hussain their allegiance, okay? What does Muawiyah do to do this? He spreads a rumor. Look how smart Muawiyah is. He spreads a rumor in Arab society that Imam Hussain actually wants peace. And this meant that the Khawarij come up to Imam Hussain and stab him in the thigh, okay? And really do injure him badly, okay? So Imam Hussain is saying that people are willing to stab me from the back, my own soldiers, and these Khawarij are willing to stab me from the front, okay? So what does he do? He starts to see how Muawiyah has manipulated society to think that he's actually a good person, okay? The treachery of this man was hidden. People had forgotten the true teachings of the Prophet, the true essence of the Quran. Imam Hussain was seeing this right in front of him, okay? Yeah.
Well, did
Muawiyah, yeah. Did he die? Yes, he died a very horrible death, okay? And we'll look at that now. So what does Imam Hussain do? He signs a peace treaty, okay? He signs a peace treaty. And he says there are going to be 5 conditions or 5 terms of the peace treaty. Muawiyah, you sign this peace treaty, I'll give you my allegiance. But Imam Hussain did this because he had hikmah, okay? He had hidden wisdom. He knew that Muawiyah is playing with this, with this Khalifa. He is playing with the people. He's manipulating people. And he was worried that the true essence of his grandfather's message is being lost, okay? People were praying on one end, and on the other end, they were willing to kill each other, okay? This is the sort of people that have become because of Muawiyah and the Bani Umayyah, okay? So Imam Hussain says these are the 5 conditions. Let's have a look at them quickly. Muawiyah must stop the cursing of Amir al-Mu'mineen, okay? Just imagine living in a society where the Khalifa is saying that the curse of Imam Ali must be done after every Salatul Jummah. Well, Imam Hussain said you must stop that. Okay. Number 2, you will not change the Sunnah of my grandfather, the Prophet. Number 3, you will stop the killing of my father's Shia. Number 4, the blood money of Safin and Jamal is to be returned to the owners. And number 5, very crucial, when you die, you will give the leadership to me or to my brother Hussein, and you cannot appoint a successor. Do you think Muawiyah upheld any of these conditions?
No.
He broke all of them.
But he had signed, yes.
He signed the treaty. The people knew he had signed the treaty.
Yeah.
And when Muawiyah broke it, people's consciousness was awakened. Okay? That's why Imam Hussain signed the treaty. Yep.
But did the people kill him?
The Muawiyah died of old age.
How come the people didn't kill him when he died? Weren't they enraged?
They were, but not enough. Okay? This is why we have Karbala. Okay? Because can you see how there's a prelude though? Muawiyah to Yazid. Okay? Yep.
You answered the question and then you told, I think it was him, you told him that Muawiyah dies a very horrible death.
No, Yazid dies a very horrible death. Muawiyah also dies a horrible death. Look, I'm going to go through that now, quickly. Okay?
Yeah, but he gets old and dies.
No, but he becomes seriously ill. Okay? In fact, they say that he, because of all the injustices that he had committed, death wasn't coming to him, even though he was so sick. He was like inches away from death. Allah didn't grant him death. You know how sometimes when someone is sick, that death is actually a blessing? Allah didn't give it to Muhammad. He suffered through this illness. Okay? All of his limbs and all of his body was pretty much broken. And he was yelling and screaming and asking for mercy. Okay? Because he was in terrible pain. He wanted to die, but death would not come close to him. His conscience tormented him for the calamity that he had committed against the Ahlulbait and the Shia. Okay? Now, upon Muawiyah's death, Yazid, 30 years old, manages to impose himself on the Khalifa and becomes the next Khalifa. Muawiyah and Yazid break The fifth what? Condition of the peace treaty. Okay. Many people were worried, and Yazid, what we do, just like Muawiyah, he doesn't just threaten people, he buys them off. Okay. He doesn't just threaten, but he kills those people not willing to give allegiance to him. Okay. All right, brothers. Can I please ask someone to put the light down or close the light, please? This is a very important part of our honoring of Abba Abdullah. We are going to recite the Messiah. And I remember I asked you guys to remember, I asked you all to remember Banu Hashim, the word Banu Hashim, okay, who were the stalwarts of Arab society, who were the exemplars for morality, okay? And when Prophet came, he was part of Banu Hashim as well. Imam Ali, okay, Imam Hussain, Imam Hussain. The poets say that Abbas, Imam Hussein's brother, was the moon of the Hashemites. The moon of the Hashemites. And today we are going to honor him tonight. Young kids, the etiquettes of Majalis are important. If you cannot cry, put your head down. Take yourself to Karbala. Put yourself there. Because this allows you to have an emotional connection with not just Imam Hussain, but everybody in Karbala. And by having that emotional connection with them, the realities of Karbala will open more and more for you, inshallah. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
Young ones, put your head down and now listen to this. On the 7th of Muharram, what does Ibn Ziyad command? Ibn Ibn Sa'd command? He commands his army to cut off all water, access to water to Imam Hussein's army. We're talking about the heat of Karbala. It's a desert, and it's in the middle of summer. In the middle of summer. It's 50 plus degrees. No water, no access to water for 3 days. The 10th of Ashura comes, and all you can hear is the words of Alatash going through the whole of Karbala. The screams of Alatash from Imam Hussein's army. Young kids were dying of thirst. Sukaina bint al-Hussein, she, young, was dying of this thirst. One by one, Imam Hussein's companions go and they don't come back. Imam Hussein, by the time that the family members started to die, he was exhausted going back and forth to the plains of Karbala and bringing the bodies back. One by one, they went and they're gone. Abu Fadl Abbas had a special connection to his brother. And the reason why I want to focus on Abbas, because one of the things I'm seeing in our society today, that connections and love between brothers is disappearing. It's not there anymore. When was the last time that you talked to your brother with love? When was the last time you put your hand over your brother and you hugged him? The reason why we're focusing on Abbas, because I hear these complaints from parents. I see it with my own eyes that brothers don't love brothers anymore as much as they used to. Take the example of Abbas tonight. Take the example of Abu Fadl Abbas. He loved Imam Hussain like anything, and he could see this valiant warrior, could see that Imam Hussain was now left alone. He goes up to Imam Hussain, he says, "Give me the permission to go and fight." Imam Hussain looks at his brother and just focus on this conversation between the two. He looks at him with sadness and he goes, "How can I let you, my flag bearer, the alamdar of my army, the commander of my army, to go and fight?" What does Abbas do? Abbas looks at Imam Hussain, his brother. He says, "Oh, Abu Abdullah, He looks around and he says, which army are you talking about? We are all alone. Imam Hussain doesn't grant him permission. Because in Hazrat Abbas, Abu Fazl Abbas was the backbone of Imam Hussain. In fact, all the ladies of the camp knew that as long as Abbas is here, we are protected. Abbas's sister, Sayyida Zainab, knew that as long as I have my brother Abbas here, I am protected. Abbas goes back and forth looking, how do I go and get permission? This is the stalwart of Banu Hashim. This is the greatest warrior that the Arabian Peninsula had seen for generations since Imam Ali. Imam Ali's blood was running through the veins of Abu Fazl Abbas. He goes again and he asks for permission. Imam Hussain said, no, I cannot give you permission, O Abbas. Then Sukaina, the daughter of Imam Hussain, she had a special connection with Abu Fazl Abbas, the uncle. Every single time this little one asked anything of Abbas, his uncle used to go and get it for her. He takes Sukaina to Imam Hussain and he says, oh, Abba Abdullah, let me go and get water for these kids. Imam Hussain says, go. Now just imagine the scene. Take yourself there. Imam Hazrat Abbas gets onto his horse. He's thirsty. He hasn't had water for 3 days. It's hot. He manages to break through the ranks. He manages to break through the ranks and he gets to the river. They say that this scene breaks the hearts of even the most hardest of hearts. When he gets to the water, he takes the water in his hands and he looks at this clear, pure water. And then he looks and he talks to himself. And this conversation is powerful. He says to himself, oh Abbas, how can you drink water while your master is still thirsty? He's broken through the ranks. He's got to the water. And he puts the water in his hands and he says, how can I drink this water when my master is not drinking? He puts the water down. He fills the water mushk up and he heads back. Shimr and his army say, if that water gets back to Hussain, they will finish us off. Make sure that water does not get back to Hussein's army. Everybody attacked Hazrat Abbas from all areas. They knew that they couldn't fight this man one-on-one. They knew. Every single time they came in front of him, Hazrat Abbas, he killed them. Killed many of Yazid's army on that day. So what they did is they hid behind a tree. One Mal'un stood behind a tree. He goes, when Hazrat Abbas rides past him, he strikes him on the right arm and he severs it. Hazrat Abbas is a warrior. He gets the mushk. When a warrior has his sights set on something, he knows he's going to get there. He puts the mushk in his left hand. Imagine Sukaina standing on the hill looking at her father. As long as that flag is up, she knows her uncle will come. Imam Hussain is looking on the hill and he knows that as long as that flag is coming, my brother is okay. As he goes past another tree, a Mal'un who couldn't face Abu Fazl Abbas strikes Abbas on the left hand. That doesn't stop him. He holds the mushk in his teeth. Still goes. But then an arrow pierces his right eye. Now he can't see. Abu Fazl Abbas is still on his horse, but the mushk is still intact. He still goes forward. But then an arrow hits the mushk and all the water goes down. This breaks Abbas. Now the poets say what happens next is unbearable, brothers and sisters. It's unbearable. When someone falls, what happens when you fall? You put your hands out to fall. Oh, Abba Abdullah, what have you had seen on that day when Abbas fell? He fell on the ground. He calls out to his brother. Imam Hussain runs to his brother. Now this interaction between brother and master, just have a look at it. Abbas is on the ground with an arrow in his eye. When Imam Hussain approaches him, He doesn't know that Hussein is approaching, but then he feels the scent of his brother. He knows Abba Abdullah is coming in front, near him. But he's ashamed. Abu Fadl Abbas is ashamed of what? Imam Hussain sits down next to him. Brothers, come with me. Let's have a look at this interaction. Imam Hussain puts Hazrat Abbas on his lap, but Hazrat Abbas puts his head away. He does it again, but Hazrat Abbas puts it away again. The poets say the reason why Hazrat Abbas did this, because he knew in a few moments whose head will be on Shima's lap. And he said, I cannot put my head on my brother's lap. That interaction between brothers, have a look at it. Please, tonight when you go home, talk to your parents about it because it's beautiful. As-salam ala al-Hussain wa ala Ali al-Hussain wa ala awlad al-Hussain wa ala ashab al-Hussain. One more line.
की अज़ियत देते हैं अब्बास को तड़पाने के लिए आखिर को जहाँ बचाता है दुर्रों से जगाया जाता आखिर को जहाँ बचाता है दुर्रों से जगाया जाता Hussein, 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 Hussein.